Hello and welcome back to my channel, Bookish Lady Night, where we get a look behind the book. Today I am joined by the lovely Fleur DeVillainy. Hello, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So she is the author of a great series that I had the privilege of reading before it was out, and I fell in love with the book. It's very much, if your youth is like the last unicorn, you're gonna love this series because it has those vibes completely and totally. So it is Sky of Thorns, and the latest book is Secret of Thorns, and then there's a prequel to Scorch a I'm gonna butcher it. To Scorch a Quartz Thorn, right? Did I get it right?
Yes.
Yes. I haven't read that one yet, but I just finished book 2, and it's next on my TBR because I didn't know that was out. Because I got these two, and I went to add like the third one because I know you posted like the teaser for it for next year, and then I saw that, and I was like, oh, I have to go do that. So this is the book. Again, isn't this cover gorgeous? She actually has a Kickstarter right now, and I joined it. They are gorgeous. The artwork, the character art, the books. So if you have time, I think it funds tomorrow or the next day, right?
Yes, it ends tomorrow on the 27th. But I will have late pledges available too. I won't have everything, but I will have like limited late pledges available.
So definitely grab your copy. You won't regret it. So again, thank you so much for joining me. It's such a pleasure having you on today.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be here today.
Yes, I love your books. They're so phenomenal.
Thank you.
So basically on this channel, I just do a little interview. We get a look at you behind the book so that fans and readers that maybe are not familiar with you get to know you a little bit better and learn about your creative process and what you have out now and potentially will have out in the future. So I'm very excited. So my first question for you today is, does writing energize you or does it make you tired?
So writing definitely energizes me, or it just helps me, wind down my brain. My human daytime job takes a lot of educating and teaching and thinking and critical, making decisions for other people. And so it's my freedom to kind of wind down from that.
So how do you find time to write? Do you have a schedule that you do?
No, yes and no. I am a very chaotic writer, so I like to first, I plot everything out. And then I just find time as the muse hits me, which is usually right before bed. So after family time, and then I have a small ton of time that I balance between reading and writing.
So you're not a pantser, you're a plotter.
Very much a plotter.
Yes. So you spend most of the creative process planning it out, and then how long does it take you to write if you have that all planned out? How long does that take you on average?
I mean, it still takes me a good 6 to 12 months, depending on if it's a novella or a novel. But once everything is ironed out, it does flow a little bit better. And then I feel like I don't hit as many snags when it comes to things not lining up right or having to go back and fix things because of plot holes and stuff. I kind of fixed that from the beginning.
So to build off of that question, because the last book, well, both of them kind of left us on cliffhangers. So do you know the cliffhanger is going to happen, or does it come as you're writing?
It kind of came, well, I kind of had it planned out because I planned out all 3 books at the beginning together of knowing which segment was going to be where. And I wanted to leave enough of a cliffhanger that people were still interested in what happens next in the story. Because I wanted to be a continuation, but I didn't want to leave it on such a big cliffhanger that people are like, oh my gosh, it's going to be an entire year or 6 months or 9 months until the next book comes out. I don't think I can do that. So I try to find a happy medium and leave it with enough that you're intrigued, but not enough that you feel dissatisfied.
Yes, it definitely did that. I felt like you gave me a little bit of food, a little bit of water, but you left me hanging. And it'll tide me over till the next book comes. But now I have the novella to read in the middle to kind of watch that first until the next one comes. So it'll be really great. So when you're writing in your plot twists, do those kind of come to you, or everything is completely planned?
So the plot twists usually kind of come spontaneous, but building off of the base framework that I already created.
And so do you drag characters in from your life, or do they just kind of come into your head. I've heard authors say they're like downloaded into their head and they just like appear. So how does that process work for you?
I definitely have characters that are like spontaneously created, and all of a sudden they like start speaking up, and I'm like, where did you come from? And they're like, I need my story told. Like Nero is very loud in my head right now, and I'm like, dude, like chill. There's still like a whole other book I have to finish before I can start your book. Like you need to like calm down.
So excited. I love him. He's like one of my favorite characters. That's awesome. So yes. So when you're writing, obviously I think you probably were a fan of The Last Unicorn, but what are some other things that inspire you when you're writing?
Ooh, I am a huge reader, so well, prior to writing, I was reading 50 to 70 books a year, and primarily I stay in like the fantasy romance genre. I really love the like fairy tale vibe-esque, the Beauty and the Beast-esque type style writing, and so like accumulation of multitudes of books, not like one in particular. And I feel like all stories start with a grain of truth, as if you read my book, you probably remember that line. And so like there's just something that sparks and then it kind of tumbles from there. And that's, really where, and then it just starts playing out in my head, and I'll be driving to work and I'll be, waiting to see another patient, or, finishing charts at the end of the day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like be quiet for 5 seconds. I don't have time to write you down.
Awesome. You are actually in my hometown. I am originally from Phoenix. And so
Fine.
you are posting, yes, you're posting these different places like that you're doing signings. I'm like, I know that place. I know that place. So it was really great. I was like, I love finding people and supporting people from my hometown. I'm out in California now, but
Okay.
yeah, I miss home. I miss it there. Such a
I
great community.
like it here. I've been here for quite some time. Actually, I was born and raised in Arizona, and so I've been here for a long time. And the only thing I don't like is our summers. I like everything else, but the good thing is there's ACs in cars, and so I'm just sad that this weekend it's supposed to go back up to 110.
Ooh, yes, I remember those days you walk out and you feel like your face is melting off. It's so bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. So do you get writer's block ever, even though you have it planned? You get that?
Yes. Even with the plan, sometimes I get writer's block where I'm like, just like I know like where I want the scene to go, but like the words aren't coming, or like I just can't picture like how I want them to play together. And usually it's when I'm trying to like force words out. So usually when I'm getting to that point, I step back, take a couple days off. Usually I read a couple of books because that kind of helps like inspire me to like, get the words flowing. And usually that's just enough time to get the characters talking again.
So do you have a writing kryptonite?
Mm, I mean, when the dog or kid comes in like every 5 seconds to ask what I'm doing. No, they're great. They're my two biggest supporters, but I think just like writing in general, you've got your good days, you've got your bad days, you've got things that are easy to write, things that are harder to write. I think the biggest challenge for me was actually writing Aramis from his point of view. Sybil comes really easy to me. Nero comes easy to me. There is a bonus scene if you back the Kickstarter that you'll get from Nero's point of view from book 2. Like other characters, Kieran's chapter even came easily to me, but Aramis, he's just very stubborn, and I hear his voice, but it's just different when you're trying to write a character that you can't 100% relate with. Trying to get their voice right.
Is he kind of like passive aggressive or kind of like talking out the side, like when it comes to writing him, where you can't quite hear him, he's like muffled? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. He's a very complicated guy. And he's got that, like, I hurt people, so I have to suffer, make amends for all the hurt that I did, rather than just saying, I did it, and now I'm going to move forward and
Let's move on.
Yeah. He, like, tortures himself. I'm like, dude, stop.
There's a lot of times where I'm like, this is how I want to write him, but I also want to just throttle you at the same time. Like, come on, let's move on to the next scene. No, I mean, and I really wanted redemption and forgiveness and found family and friendship to be a really like solid core foundation of my trilogy. forgiveness of other people, forgiveness of yourself, knowing that family isn't necessarily the people you're born into, but sometimes, it's the people that you find, people that you bring together. And so,
Yeah, I love that. Those are like some of my
mhm,
favorite tropes, so to speak.
mhm,
Like, I love books that have that. And like, I really loved how, I don't want to spoil anything, but I loved how you started book one, and I loved the trail that they went over, the big mountain that they
mhm,
climbed over to get to where they ended
mhm,
at book one, and then how even in book two, some of that back and forth was still there because they didn't fully work it out.
mhm.
So I love that dynamic, like the push and pull, and like the banter that goes along with the push and pull.
I love like banter is like my favorite. I think my favorite banter though is between Aramis and Nero. Like
Oh yeah.
writing their character interaction is so much fun.
Well, you can tell that they've been with each other for a long time,
Hmm.
and like they don't take each other's shit. They're like, no, we're calling you out on
Yeah.
this. We're not doing
This
this.
is true.
So
This is
I
true.
love that about them, and I loved the banter. Like, I'm so excited that you said that he's gonna get a book. Like, 'cause I love him. He's so great. I'm like, so if you could go back in
Hmm.
time, take a time machine, go back in time, and see your younger writing self, is there
Hmm.
any advice you give your younger writing self now with all you've learned since then?
Mm, I mean, yes, like be less harsh on yourself, like knowing that like writing is a journey. I prior to Sky of Thorns had written a book with another author. It was a really, really good friend of mine. Um, and then before that, I have a published comic and I had written like stories, just never published them before this. And so going back and reading them, I've realized like the growth is there. And while it's really hard sometimes to read like an original like piece that you wrote and be like, "Ooh, I need to rewrite that because like my writing's so much better now." But then I'm like, "Well, yeah, but and a year from now my writing's gonna be so much better and then so much better." And while there, yes, you could rewrite it and make it better, you also like need to be proud of your achievement of, hey, you did it and you're growing and keep sticking with it. I wish I would have published earlier, to be honest. I had a lot of stories that probably could have been published 5, 10, 15 years ago, but I just didn't quite have the confidence like, hey, I can do this. But when like the last couple of years, my good friend that we wrote the book with, she's like, no, you are a good writer. Like, be confident in yourself. And so that's where like a lot of like forgive yourself, like learn to listen to your friends, like really plays a like big into my life.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. So I have to ask you this because you're a fantasy writer. So if you could pick any magical creature or mythical creature, what would it be and why?
Ooh, I mean it's unicorn, hands down. I've always loved unicorns, hence why my main character is a unicorn. Just think there's something so like, well, let's see here. A lot of people think of unicorns as like pink fluffy unicorns or like pure and innocent, but like if you look at lore of them, like there's so many other things where like they're like the protectors, they're the healers, and as a healer myself of little ones, it just really resonates in my soul.
Wonderful. So are you a nurse or doctor? What's your daytime? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, both. I'm a
Both?
doctor nurse. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Well, you hold a soft place in my heart even more. I have a medically fragile son, so I
Okay.
am very always grateful to people that are in your field. It's not an easy one, and
No, I started off doing pediatric ICU. So I did that for 7 years between the pediatrics and neonatal. And that's a lot of where a lot of the stories bloomed is I would tell stories to the kids at night, especially because not all the parents could spend the night because they had jobs, they had other kids. And so sometimes it was just spending, an hour by a kid's bedside, while they were scared and alone. And granted, I write, it's old fantasy now, but that really like set the roots deep for like me wanting to write more. And then I did go back and pursue 2 graduate degrees.
amazing. That's really great, and I just love that. That's really awesome that you took that little bit of your thoughts and turned it into something
Hmm.
that's touching a lot of people's lives now. I mean, I'm in the chat group, and I see people post about your books, and so it's a really cool thing to see it from there to the end side of it.
Yes.
So
And
that's
that's the one thing that I really hope. Like, I know it's fantasy. I know it's a made up story, but like, if it can touch somebody, if it can make their day, put a smile on their face, get them like just a moment of peace, because life's hard. And sometimes you just need to fight that dragon.
exactly. And I totally, like, I know you said it's just fantasy, but really that, like, it provides people that sometimes are in a really hard spot, like a different
Yeah.
perspective. Even though it's a fantasy story, it has, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
roots of real things, and it can just change someone's perspective, or like how they're viewing something, and be like, whoa, like, let me think about this differently. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that about books, and how
Yeah.
they make you think and change your whole perception on things.
No,
It's
it's really great.
So what is the most difficult thing about writing for you?
Probably time, honestly. Between my full-time job, my mom life, my husband and I actually own a print shop, so we print comics and books on the side. Is time, just finding time.
Yes. I think you did a video, right, where you did painting, you decorated the cover, like at the side of the book, right? That was so cool.
Yeah.
I love watching that. I have no idea how you do that, but it's really, really cool. I love watching when people do that on their books
Yeah.
and do that decoration. It's such
It's
a
trial
craft.
and error and lots of practice, but
Yeah.
no, and I love them. And I love like beautiful books like that. That's one thing that I wanted when I created. I wanted to make a beautiful story, but I wanted to make a beautiful book that somebody who's like, I don't even like unicorns. I mean, who doesn't like unicorns? But who was like, I just need this book for my shelf because it's beautiful.
Like, I read it, and then I was like, I do, like, I guess they're called book trophies. I think that's what my
Yeah.
friend told me they're called. And so I was like, I need this book on my shelf. So I love that. I love the covers. So when you go about with the covers, do you enjoy that process, like speaking with the artist, or do you do the cover? Did you do your cover, or how?
So, yes, I did book one. The author Charlotte Mallory is a cover designer, and she helped me heavily like making book one's cover. And then book two, we created based on books one, and so then I made book two and book three's cover based on that. To Scorch Your Court's Thorn and the novella is part of a Dragon Shifter series, so it's a whole collection of authors who all wrote separate novellas, fantasy romance novellas, but we had like a creator who made that. But I really love the creative process of making the covers. I've made the covers for my other series, The Clan of Mist, and then I have a novella, a witchy werewolf romance, coming out this November. It's up for pre-order right now, and I just finished the cover for that as well, and I'm super excited to show everybody. But I'm waiting till the Kickstarter ends.
Wonderful! Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to read that. Yes, it's a gorgeous cover. I love it. Like, I got the book. I think I got the blurb about the book when you had it out, because I was signing up for an ARC, and I loved the blurb. And then she sent the artwork, and I was like, it's so pretty.
I know. I love the artwork so much. And that's the nice thing about the special editions is I put the artwork inside of the cover so that everybody will get it. Oops, if I can turn the page.
I loved that when you did a reveal for that. That was beautiful. They're amazing prints, and they look really, really stunning. It brings the characters to life for sure.
I love supporting other artists too, whether they're authors or artists. And so it's a really neat, especially with like the Kickstarter, using it to be able to hire like indie narrators and indie artists to like create like these worlds, and like, because some people are visual, some people are audio, and so I wanted to be able to create a world that everybody could enjoy and support others while I'm at it, which is why I don't know if you saw, oh, I don't have any with me. For the Kickstarter, have custom soap that I got made from a local, like, small business that does custom soaps and lotions. So she made a special soap just for the book.
So, lemon.
Yeah.
Do you have a lemon at some point in your life, or is that just like your spirit animal?
So I did in my younger adult, before I got married life, had a lemon. And he was amazing. But, unfortunately, ferrets do not last a long time. And so he has gone to the great beyond, but he will live forever in Sky of Thorns.
Love him. He's such a great character. He's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
I love that she has like a sidekick. Like, I just love that. That was such a great little Easter egg thing to add in there with your character.
Mm-hmm.
It was just
it's my throwback to my Disney princess roots. Like, what Disney princess doesn't have a side character?
I loved that. So you said that Aramis was hard for you to write, but Nero was okay. Like, it came to you. Is it difficult for you to write the perspective of the opposite sex when you're writing?
It was for Aramis. For Nero, it wasn't. Like, his chapter, but I only wrote one chapter from his perspective. And so as of right now, I've primarily just done Aramis and minus 2 chapters. So I think it's going to have to see, because I'm working on another one. And so far that's been going pretty well with my witchy bakery werewolf romance. And so that one's going pretty smooth so far. So I think it might just be Aramis. We just butt heads. But we'll see how book 3 goes, because book 2 did get a little bit easier.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think as you live with the characters more, just like you live with your family, you start to like learn their little, like with your husband, when you first get married, it's like learning those little nuances about them and their little tics and tricks and how to avoid conflict. So
yes, this is why we've been married for 15 years.
It's really wonderful, and he supports you, and I love that you guys have a shop. Like, that's so perfect for what you want to do. That's so great. So
it's great.
Yeah. So, what is the hardest scene for you to write? Like, what type of scene is like
a scene where I have to off a character is the hardest for me. And I know some like authors will write, they're like, I'm so ready, like you, and let go of you. And for me, in the scene where I had to let a character go, with the exception of one character in book 2, I cried while writing it, but I knew it had to be in there. And then I went to self-edit and I was like, oh, maybe I should just take it out. I can do something else instead. And I don't want to spoil too much. And then I like went through beta readers. They made suggestions. I went through development's editor, who made it even more sad. And I was like, no, I got to take this out. Like, I cannot, like my heart is hurting every time I read this scene. And then, but with some cajoling, I decided to keep it in. And then when they did the audiobook version, I like almost lost it, like listening to the scene be read out loud. Yeah.
It's like, this is so hard because I read it, right?
Yeah.
It's like in my brain, I read it, but I shielded it, I think.
Yeah.
When I listened to the audio, I was like, like, it was hard. It was hard. Yeah. It was so good. I loved the audiobook of it. Like, it just brought all the characters to life in such a different way. It was phenomenal. So you picked great.
I can't wait for them to do book 2, which are starting in they already have everything. They said they're starting November, possibly a little bit earlier, but November for sure. And then they'll be doing book 3, of course, as well.
That's great. I'm so excited. I love to have the books, if I read them and then like a book I really like, I love to hear it from that perspective.
Because there's like little things you like pick up.
Yeah.
Like, well, even like listening to it, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I wrote. I mean, I didn't forget that I wrote it, but in my head, I'm like, wow, I wrote that. Like, I wrote that. And I'm a big audiobook, like when I'm driving to the hospital, driving to clinics and stuff, like sometimes it's a long drive. And so I definitely go through a lot of audiobooks. And so that was something really neat that I was really glad I was able to. I mean, I know not every author can, like, they're very expensive to produce and the payout on them isn't great, but the reward of just hearing your words come to life is worth every penny.
Yeah, it's really, I love when they are able to do that. Like I said, I feel like it makes it like a movie. Like I can see
like a movie in your mind.
A movie in your mind, yes. It makes it a lot more. So on the flip side of that, what is your favorite scene to write?
I like the banter scenes. I like where they're like just giving each other crap and like go like I can't believe you just did that and just like going to town. So like the scene where they're um fighting Nero and Aramis when they're like practicing like sword fighting. Really, because I wrote a very similar scene in book two. Um and so those ones I really like.
Yeah. Yeah, I love when there's banter because it just makes it that much more real. Like it brings their personalities and their character and their like almost their like annoyances with one another, so you definitely can feel like they have had a past and had a
Yes.
history. So I feel like that's a big thing when you do that and you have like that good band. So with in your writing journey, who or what inspired you to start writing originally? If you were just always drawn to it?
Um, yeah, I've always really been drawn to writing. It's something that's always just been a very big like part of my life. I just like to create stories. Like I like to tell stories. I like to create stories. And I think it comes from just how much I had read as a kid. Like I was always reading as a kid, and so it really helped there. But that's what I would say most likely.
Yeah. So what was like what are a couple like your favorite children's books or your favorite like book when you were a teenager? Like what were your go-tos?
So I did a lot of
Oh,
like
we did a
Chronicles of
lot of like
Narnia. I mean,
Narnia.
obviously Harry Potter was a big part of my life growing up. I liked the like younger. I did a lot of like Boxcar Children and Nancy Drew, which is funny because as an adult, I really don't enjoy mystery. Like I know there's a lot of mystery, um, like romance and that kind of stuff, and it doesn't like your brain changes and stuff, and so I just don't like correlate with.
So what are some of your favorite tropes when you're looking for a book to read? What do you gravitate towards?
So I definitely gravitate towards like enemies to lovers, fantasy romance, like fairy tale retellings, like Beauty and the Beast, things like that.
So which one of the characters are most like you and why?
Ooh, I'd have to say Sybil. We definitely like, and I think that's a lot of the way with like a lot of authors' first book is their main character really is like resonates with them. Um, my ideology of a healer and wanting to be better and, just wanting to find my place in the world, really like help build the foundation of who she is.
She definitely has that. I love she's very kind
Hmm.
and understanding even when she doesn't understand. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, it does.
She's just like she's always like changing her thought pattern to kind of put herself in the other people's shoes and trying to see it from their perspective, but also like keeping her values in place. Like I love that about her. I love that, especially like within this new book with the girls in the library and different things like that. Like I love like she doesn't quite understand, but she's like, okay,
Where
okay,
can we meet a middle ground here?
where like we'll do this, we'll go here. So I really like that about her. So if you could pick, and this doesn't have to be your book, it could be any book, it could be your book. Out of all of the male characters that you come across, which do you think is like your ideal like book boyfriend or the one that you would pick?
Mm. Nero. No, I love a good like cinnamon roll, who's witty and funny and just like the whole like big brother almost like, willing to help anybody, but also like willing to like lay down and protect anything that like matters to him.
So what is the most surprising thing you've learned in your writing journey, whether it be about you or about the writing community or both, that you've learned from
I mean,
that?
I have loved to find the community and to find how supportive most people are about wanting to share, wanting to swap books, wanting to like, support everybody. Because everybody is like the rising tide lifts all boats. Like with one person successful, it only helps the success of another. It helps new readers find new stories, which is all this is about, like telling the story. and, making somebody's day, like being the light in their darkness.
So when you are publishing and you get to the release day and the reviews start flowing in, do you read them or do you avoid them?
Like, I want to know, like, did this hit right? Who's everybody's favorite character? And I'll be the first to admit, like, reviews are hard. Like, it's really awesome to read the great ones, and I love to hear like people's favorite characters, their favorite quotes, what they liked, what they're looking forward to, like what tropes that like. So a lot of people like in the reviews will put like, this trope, this micro trope, and I was like, oh, wasn't intentional, or like, okay, like I put that in there, but I wasn't thinking that was something people would pick up on. And so it's really kind of cool to, when that does happen. And then, but there are the harsh ones. And then you're like, well, maybe like, is this like not your normal kind of book? Like, is this normally what you like to read? And I will say, like, one of the hardest things is I did have a video go viral. And I tell this to like all the baby indie authors that I talk to, is I had a video go viral, which was really awesome. And it hit like 100,000 views on TikTok or something. But it put my book in the hands of, I don't think, the right readers. It was people who like looking at other books that they read. Because the Goodreads shows you like, oh, they rated your book, and then this is what else they read. They read a lot of like dark romance or like mafia romance or like Haunting Adeline and things like that. And I said, oh, that is
Yeah, that's like
not my
way
book.
over there.
That is not my book. It's like way over there. And I'm not like, YA, like pink fluffy unicorn, but I'm definitely not like, Haunting Adeline. Which is totally fine. Like everybody has a different reader. And that's the nice thing, is like there is a reader for everybody. There is a genre for everybody. And sometimes people like one thing and then their tastes change and they like something else. Like I don't like mystery books anymore. But that really hurt. And it really was kind of like oh wow. But then I realized, like, while ratings matter, like while ratings are there, while reviews are there, they're not really for the author, they're more for the reader. So people who like Hunting Adeline, who are friends with that person, are like, oh, this is not a book I should pick up. Okay, got it. But it's hard, like, overall, because it's your book, baby. You want to protect it. You want everybody to love it. And it's hard to kind of swallow that pill of like, not everybody's going to love it, but you are going to find the right people eventually.
Yeah, that's one thing I love and don't love about the community, because I sometimes feel like we're all supportive. Like I feel like I started my journey on Book Talk last March, and I found so many friends and so many wonderful people. But then there's like that little sliver, and I'm like, you guys are ruthless. Like, why? Like, calm down. Like, let's just say it wasn't for you and move on, because it's someone else's cup of tea. So it's interesting to see that.
There are a few, and I was, and thankfully I have not had too many that were like that, but I have seen some reviews on other people's books that were, I was like, you took this really personally. Like you could have just stopped reading, or you could have just like DNF'd it. That is one thing that I don't like, is I do have, and I've seen, not just me, like other authors, where people will give it a 1 star and say DNF, but they're like, I read the first 3 pages, I couldn't get past it. So I said, okay, well, I don't think, like, you can leave a review without leaving a rating.
Yeah.
And like Audible won't let you rate or leave a review unless you've listened to like a certain amount of it. And I get that. Like I get it. If you read 75% of it, like I think at that point you have justified enough to like leave a review, or if you read 50% of it. But if you didn't even finish the first chapter, like it's hard to give it a rating when you didn't even like consume enough of the book to truly like,
you like didn't even enter the world. You like just got through like the first few steps. So yeah, I agree with you on that. That's definitely something that I wish, people would just not just say it wasn't for me. I didn't, and move on, not put a rating on it, because that affects you guys. Like every star affects. So yeah, that's definitely, I think I would have a hard time looking at reviews as an author. I would take it personally. I would have a really hard time.
I've come to a part where now I have like my beta readers go and be like, all right, pick me out a couple reviews and copy paste them or screenshot them for me, because I want to see what people are saying. Like I do. Like I love it when readers tag me on Instagram and they're like, they did a flat lay, or they did, digital flat lay. And they, this is the like image and this is my review, like 3, 4, 5 stars. And like, I like that. I'm very grateful that I have not had anybody tag me in a 1 star or a 2 star. I have had authors that have been tagged in reviews that just raked them over the coals. And it's hard. Like, it's, I get wanting to share your opinions, but like, there's no need to tear somebody down for that. Like, you can just say you didn't like it and not tag the author.
Yeah. And I love making like the reels for fantasy books.
Oh, they're so
It's
much
so much
fun.
fun. It's like you just fall into the world. You've probably seen that trend on Instagram where they're like holding a book and then they like fall backwards and then
Yes.
made it look like the world. I'm like, can that just be real life that we walk up to a door and we put the book of what book we want to go in and then we just go into that world? Like, can that be a thing? Can someone invent that? Because I just feel like that should be what it's about. Like, supporting that. So, what, in your opinion, makes the greatest story?
Ooh. I would say something that people could relate to. Like if you can't like picture yourself or relate it in the book, and that doesn't mean like it has to be realistic. Like I can relate to characters who are fighting dragons because we fight imaginary dragons all day long. We fight disease, we fight like lots of things. We have hardships and great ships, and sometimes fortune comes our way and sometimes it doesn't. And there's famine, and so I think something that you can relate to or that you can fantasize about, like put yourself in there, makes the best story.
I agree. That is really great. So when you are doing your writing at the end of the day, do you have like a goal? Do you try to get like a daily word count or through a certain chapter or a certain scene? Like, do you set goals for yourself?
I used to set daily word goals, and then I found it was actually causing me to have more word block than anything because I was trying to like, fit in time on days that were super busy. And then I would get down because I didn't hit it. And then the next day I would feel bad because I hadn't hit it the day before and I wanted to make up for it, but I could barely reach my goal for the day. And so I stopped setting daily goals for myself. Now, for some people, it works great. Um, or their schedule's a little bit more flexible and they have the time or mental capacity to, sit down and do that. I more of set like big, like long-term goals. Like this month, I want to get, this third of the book done, or this month I want to get X number of chapters like down. Because then it's more of like I have a goal, because without a goal, my ADHD would be crazy and nothing would get done ever. This book still wouldn't be out. It's only out by the miracle and definitely some great friends of mine who kept me focused. So yeah, I set big goals, but little goals are like I always say, little goals are really easy to achieve, and I think they're really important. But sometimes if you set unrealistic goals, then you end up like stepping backwards more than you step forwards.
So when you get your characters' personalities, when they start to come to you, are you pulling from, let's say, a friend of yours or your husband or your personality, or are they just totally organically 100% just coming to you?
I think it's about 50-50. I think sometimes like their first, like their structure or created is based on like, I want to create a character who's like this person or who has just this character trope. Like I want them to be a cinnamon roll and these are their morals. And so usually I put like, this is what their goals in life. This is what they're afraid of in life. This is like their like, their morals and what they believe in. And then I use that to kind of help grow and build them. That way they're more realistic. And I also try, even if I don't write it, I try to think of like their backstory. Like how did they get to where they are now? So like Queen Tricella, she has a very, very heavy backstory, which kind of alluded in book 2 more, like expanded on it. But knowing her backstory helped me know knowing her backstory helped me know more how she would respond to certain things.
Did you do like a character interview kind of, so to speak, to like get to know them?
Yeah, I've got like character the bios and breakdowns and stuff, and like I've seen some authors like be amazing and they assign like character like personality the personality test you can take. Like I don't know if I can go that far. because they kind of live in my head, and I don't think everybody always fits like in an exact box, but it does help to kind of have a little bit of a profile. That way I can like, either when my developmental editor goes through the book, she can like know what voice I'm trying to give for them. So she's like, you're kind of like sliding into neutral territory. Like, is this really the response they would have? Or, because this is what they believe in. So then we kind of work through some things to give them their own individual voice.
So when you're writing, because you did the indie route, so when you did your first book and then you come back and you do your second, is there anything that you've like developmentally or fundamentally changed in how you do things after learning that curveball?
I was more aware in my chapters, like having purpose to them. So like when I wrote the first one, I just like, this is the story and this is how it goes. And then this time I kept more in mind about like pacing so that we weren't like staying in a forest for a third of the book as we made which was really important. Like there's a lot of really good scenes in book one and I really like it, but going back and reading it, like, now I feel a little bit more confident, like getting the story out without like dragging it out.
So more like the pacing, like how you pace it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite part about being a writer?
Getting to talk to people about stories, getting to talk to other authors about their stories and their process. Like I just love that creativity side of it, and just getting excited to talk to other readers. Like, when they're excited, when they read a certain scene, they're like, oh, I have people who reach out and they're like, I just got to the part where I just met the queen. Oh my gosh, I can't believe blah, blah, blah. Like I love that side of it.
Yes, she is brutal. She is on a whole other level. She is, yeah. I would not want to meet her in a dark alley or anywhere because I just think she scares me. She scares me.
I wanted her. I didn't want it to go into a point where it would be considered like dark romantic-y.
Yeah.
But there were definitely a couple times where I was like, this is getting a little gray here, more than just morally gray. Like we're rubbing some dirt into this picture.
Yes. So I know we kind of touched on it a few times, but like as an overall cohesive, like this is what I want. What message do you hope to bring to readers when they pick up your books?
My overall picture that I want to bring to readers is that forgive yourself, forgive others, know that sometimes like people's past makes them act a certain way, but until the like truth is brought to light, like they may be thinking they're in the right, and that everybody, the villain isn't the villain in their eyes. It's just depending on perspective. And so that's like one of my big things is like forgiveness and, finding your place in life too.
Wonderful. That's definitely a good message to be putting out into the world. So 2 more questions. What is one thing you would give up in order to be a better writer? Like if you could give up something and that would make you that much better, like what would it be for you?
Oh, I'm not quite sure. That's a really tough one. No, I don't know.
Twist it a little bit. What's your guilty pleasure? Like you can't live without this. We'll do it that way.
I definitely love to bake and I love to read and I love to sew. I'm actually this weekend working on my gown for Books, Gowns, and Crowns next month. So I'm super excited to be showing off little like teasers of that. But I don't know if I would honestly give those up. Just to like be a better writer. I think there's something great in the growth of like practicing and getting better, through trial and error. Like it's hard sometimes. You look back and you're like, oh my gosh, did I really write it that way? Or did I really have them say that? Or, this could have been so much better if I did it this way. But I think there is something humbling about like, taking it one step at a time. And I'm just can't get rid of my sewing or my baking. Like, are you a crazy person?
It's like, no, I'm keeping them. So what is a unique or quirky fact about you that most people don't know?
Ooh. Way too many things. I do way too many things. Okay, so before I became a pediatric nurse practitioner and before I became a pediatric nurse and started a business and became an author, actually managed a video game store for 5 years, which is how me and my husband met. He came in when I was managing one day. So that's my quirky fun. Like, so I know all about making a computer from scratch and all that stuff because I am currently sitting in front of my computer made from scratch, and we have three gaming computers because like I don't have as much time to game as I used to anymore. A lot of my gaming time is now writing and reading time. But yeah, that's my guilt. That is one of my guilty pleasures. I would probably give up. I have kind of given up.
Yeah. Play WoW? Is that
No, we played.
where you
No,
play?
we played Final Fantasy IV.
Nice, nice. I was a WoW girl and I had to cut myself.
It's on par, like same like online MMO. Now mostly is like um Stardew Valley. Like that's my guilty pleasure now is Stardew Valley. Which I have like thanks to TikTok found a whole world of people who are writing Valley-esque fantasy romance like novels, and I was like, well, there goes all my paychecks for the rest of the year.
Here you go.
And then TikTok's like, and here's another rec that's a Stardew Valley romance, and here's another rec that's a Stardew Valley romance.
There's all these booktube or bookstagrammer people, and they're doing this picture where they're putting the book on the bookshelf. There's my mortgage. There's my vacation, and I'm totally like that. I'm like, there goes I'm buying all my books because
like most of like the Kickstarter is going towards printing the books, the audiobook, the artwork, the editing, like it's going towards the production of making a very beautiful book. And indie authoring is very expensive. There's definitely like cheaper ways to do it, but like I want to do it the right way. And so that's the nice thing about Kickstarter. But I will say like I do spend a good amount on Kickstarter myself buying other indie author books because I want pretty books for my bookshelf.
Yes. I didn't even know that was a thing. I think you and one other author started doing it. I'm like, wait, they're on there doing these books? Like, I'm totally going to join because I bought it for
I think I've been buying things from Kickstarter for years and years. I had my first Kickstarter in 2020. I put my comic book out. I have 4 published comics. And so that's how I like funded and printed my comic books. And then it was 2 years ago now that I was like, this is how I can do my books. I'm a small author. Nobody knows me, but at least like, let's get the ball rolling. And I was really surprised by how many people who had never like heard of me, they were like, this sounds like a cool book. I want to pick it up. And then that's kind of just what started the ball rolling. So
because you're from Arizona, do you go to the Renaissance Fair?
Of course, like every year, and the Pleasure Feast, like because you can't go to the Renaissance Fair without going to the Pleasure Feast. We actually bought tickets like 2 weeks ago, so I'm super excited, and I do make my costumes for it too.
It's wonderful. So I went to school at Arizona State University and NAU for fashion design. Like that's what I went to school for. And so when you said that, I was like, oh my golly, we have so much in common. So I missed going there. They still to this day, I want to fly out there just for the Ren Fair. I haven't been, we moved out here 12 years ago. So it's like, I used to spend every time it was there, every single weekend I was there.
Yeah. No, and I love their Pleasure Feast that they have there. I mean, the price alone, you get a 5-course meal, unlimited wine or beer, plus the ticket to get in, and a souvenir cup that you get to keep. So it's like a win-win-win. What's funny is I actually almost brought one of my Renaissance cups to drink my water out of, but I left it in the kitchen.
That's awesome. Is the Dead Bob show still there? Is he still there? Or has he stopped doing it? 10 years.
I don't know if Dead Bob, but like 3 guys and a drum is there.
Okay.
Carmen is still there. Like a lot of the shows, Barely Balanced is still there, although they replaced one of their people. But yeah, a lot of like the original shows are still there, which is really cool.
You definitely have to post pictures, especially because you made your outfit. You're going to have to send pictures and post them.
I will.
Wonderful.
As I'm like being surrounded by like fabric right now. This isn't my one for my ball gown, but I'm just like sitting in my room with like stacks of fabric.
That's me. I mean, this is my office, and if I could stack stuff to the ceiling, honestly. I have a lot of them in the garage in like secure bins.
Yep, and Tupperware pins. Yep.
but it would literally it would suffocate me and fall over me and I would have no room in this room. So I love it. I love that you sew. I love that I found yet another thing that I love about you. I love that. I really want to see your costumes because that is totally my jam.
But they're like beautiful. Like I love making. So this was an 1820s gown that I designed for a ball that we went to last year that was 20s themed, which was really cool because it was like people 1920s, 1820s, 1720s. So this was really fun. I'll have to show you pictures of it.
That's beautiful. The detailing and
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And that's so fun. I love going to balls. I'm actually going to 3. One in November, one in January in Arizona. I'll be out there in Arizona in January.
Oh, which
July.
one are you going to out here in January?
I'm going to the ACOTAR ball. It's near the Renaissance Fair. It's going to be near there. And I was like, oh, yay, it's going to be near my stomping grounds. So.
But you'll be here like a couple weeks too early because I think it's like mid-February is the opening weekend.
Oh, well, maybe I might come back. I might fly out there and just be like, I need a weekend to go relive my youth and go out there. I'm a homeschool mom and to my kids. And so I'm like, I just need a vacation for myself.
Vacation.
There. So that might be a lot of fun. So that's really great. I definitely want to see pictures. So definitely send me pictures because I love all that stuff.
I will. Wonderful. I'll have to send you work in progress pictures as I work on my ball gown this weekend.
Yes, definitely. I would love to see that. Well, thank you so much. This was so great. And again, if you have not read her series, definitely you will not regret it. You'll fall in love with these characters. And then if you get through book 2, you'll be dangling with me for a little while until this comes out.
Unless you read the novella.
Yes, get a little.
You'll love this. It's about Nero's parent.
Okay. I know what I'm reading this weekend. I love the character art. Oh, that's gorgeous. Okay. You know what I'm reading this weekend? And I know what you're reading at home this weekend. You need to get these books and read them. So again, it was such a pleasure getting to know you and all of the great details about your book and your characters and your process. I'm really grateful for you joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me on tonight. I'm so excited to be here.
Wonderful. And so please like and subscribe if you have a book bestie or anyone that loves unicorns around you, which that's like every second person in the world. Definitely let them know about this book because they will fall in love with it also. And I will put the links below so you know where to find her on social media as well as her website. And if you do have a chance, check out that Kickstarter. Closes tomorrow. It's really awesome. It's definitely worth it. I am very excited to get mine when it's all finished. And thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye for now.